What's up, everybody? Good afternoon. I was rushing a little bit to get here. That way, I still have some sunlight to record. Let me go ahead and unwrap and pull the garage queen out real quick. Damn. All right, so we're actually working with the engine bay today. So let me go ahead and pop that open. So what are we possibly doing today? So today I'm gonna show you guys how to do compression tests on your motor. This literally works for any gasoline powered car, so you should have no problems. The procedure might be a little different, but for the most part, I'd say 90% of the procedure is going to be the same. Now you might be asking yourself, well, why do I need to do a compression test? Well, compression test will help you identify two things. It'll let you know, first, is my engine healthy? And second, how healthy is it? That's all it tells you. If you're working on a beautiful B series, like in this case, you're gonna wanna start off by removing the 4 nuts right here for the valve cover. Now just pull your spark plug wires. And now that you have that off, go ahead and remove all the spark plugs. Starting from cylinder number 1 all the way to 4. Doesn't matter which order, just remove them all. And of course, I forgot the extension. Not bad. It's pretty good. Upon further inspection, I've seen something. See that right there? Yeah, that's not good. That's oil. And I know exactly where that's coming from. I know the culprit of that. I'll tell you guys in another video. But yeah, that's gonna have to be attended very soon. A little visual inspection on spark plugs. They seem to burn in at the same rate, so that's good. That's a good indicator that everything's going well inside the engine. Just the oil around the actual washers, that's not good. But for now, let's get back here. Now everything's exposed. So literally, if you just got like a metal rod, a skinny rod or a light, and you just shot it all the way down, you'd probably be entering the combustion chamber of the engine. So the combustion chamber of an engine is basically where all your magic happens. That's basically where you get all your cool sounds from a car, and that's also where your car gets its power from. Inside the combustion chamber, you have compression. What is compression? Compression is basically pressurized air. Inside the combustion chamber, the air is supposed to be compressed at a certain rate, and that's measured in pounds per square inch, or more notably known as PSI. Every engine has its own specifications. As far as I'm concerned, I haven't checked. Don't quote me on it, but I believe for the B series, it's 160 to 175 PSI, plus or minus, give or take, I'm not sure. But that's what you would be getting from a stock factory B16. Obviously, different engines with different displacements and components such as pistons, cranks, and all that good stuff, it will change the compression ratio, or the compression that you have per combustion chamber will vary. So do keep that in mind. But I'm assuming stock for stock, you should be having 160 to 170 PSI on a B series. Check with your owner's manual. That'll definitely tell you the compression that you're supposed to be running in each and every cylinder. So now that we have a little bit of background on what compression is and the point of this test, let's go ahead and check how much compression this motor has. Obviously, for a test like this, you're gonna need a compression tester. Does not have to be fancy by any means. I mean, even one at Harbor Freight should suffice. But if you want to go with a little more expensive one that's in a case and all, by all means go for it. I encourage it. In the compression test kit, you're going to have your gauge, which reads you the amount of pressure that's going in, or that it's reading from the engine. And you're also going to have your hose, which you're gonna screw in. It has a thread. This side you connect it to the actual gauge, and then this end you thread it into the actual into the threaded part of the head, leading into the block. In case it doesn't fit, you do have adapters here. But most of the time, at least for Hondas, it's worked with this one. Go ahead and just attach it here real quick. All right, so that's attached. It's good, attached. And now this end, I'm literally just going to thread it in.
5 minutes later.
Well, that took forever. I was trying to thread it into number 1, but number 1, it wasn't trying to go in because this thing's all bent and stuff. So anyways, I got into number 4. Same thing, doesn't matter. And I'm gonna go ahead and plug this thing back on here, and then we'll get on with the compression. Before you start cranking the motor, you're gonna have to disconnect. For Hondas, it's gonna be the distributor connector here. You don't want spark to ignite and then have your car actually, have combustion going on in the combustion chamber. We just want to measure compression. You don't want this thing actually firing out. So I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect this right here. So that's off. So now let's get the key. Once you get in the car, go ahead and insert the key. Don't mind the rags there. I'm just extra. the keys in, you're gonna go ahead and crank over the car. So you're gonna hold it about 5 or 7 times. The car is gonna go woo, 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 woo. So just hold it 5 or 7 times. That's what's happening inside here. In the engine, you're gonna have compression building. If you have any, it's gonna be building inside the combustion chamber, and that's what the gauge is gonna be reading. It's gonna be reading the amount of pressure. So once we're done, we're gonna hop out. We're gonna hop on out, and we're gonna go ahead and read the compression reading. That's another thing. Make sure you have your foot on the gas. It's open all the way, so you mimic the throttle body being open. I believe that also floods the injectors as well. All right, so it's in neutral. So check this out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so that's good. So let's see what we have here. So it is reading, not sure why it's bleeding out though. But yeah, it was at 200. So on cylinder number 4, I came to the reading and it was 180, but I'm not sure why the actual gauge, it's leaking air. I'm not sure if I need a little bit of Teflon tape to go ahead and thread it around the actual thread that joins the gauge. But yeah, like I just recorded the compression reading for number 3 and it shot up to 210. So that's about right. I've read these compression numbers before. So let me do number 4 again, because let me have the camera on it. That way I can see what the compression reading is on it. I did 10 cranks for number 3 and I got 210. So let's do it on number 3 again. I mean number 4. Well, the fitting is right here, but it's gonna take too much time for me to try to take it off and put some Teflon tape. So I'm not sure if this gauge is actually faulty. But anyways, we'll just carry on. I'll leave the camera here, that way you guys see the readings, and I'll try to slow down in slow motion, that way we can see where it shoots up to. So number 4 went to 180, but I'm pretty sure, I'll do it again right now, I'm pretty sure it's gonna shoot to 210 with 10 cranks, and I'll do the same thing for number 2 and number 1. This thing is making my video go bad. Yeah, so I had my neighbor right now hold the camera for me to see the readings. And yeah, I went up to 210, 220 even. So I was tripping. I was like, bro, there's no way I've lost compression, that the rings are gone. I'm like, this car has been parked here. I'm like, I haven't even driven it or dogged the shit out of it. So number 4, 210, 220, 210. We'll leave it at 210. Number 3, that was 210. And then I'm gonna have him hold the phone again for cylinder number 2 and number 1. So we should be getting 210 all across the board. So let me go ahead and take out the gauge and put it on number 2 and number 1. I'm not sure why the gauge, it's leaking air through it. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to buy another one. I guess that one's faulty or something. I think I used it like once or twice. I had another one from AutoZone. Even that one worked better. All right, so we're going backwards. So like I said, I got number 4, number 3, now it's number 2. Got the gauge here. So it should be landing between that line right there and that one, between 200 and 220. So I'll do 10 cranks. Yeah, so there we go. So that one came out to 210 as well. Still has some pressure, so I'm not sure why it's not holding all the pressure, but I bled it out. So cylinder number 2 came out to 210, 220, so we're good there. So let me go ahead and screw it and then move it to cylinder number 1. Now I'm connected at cylinder number 1. We're at 0 PSI, so I'm gonna go ahead and crank it over 10 times. Have the homie hold it for me. Send it. All right. 3, 2, 1. Perfect, bro. Ah, man, this thing's beautiful. All right, so like we saw, cylinder number 1, 210, number 2, 210, number 3, 210, and number 4, 210. It's unfortunate that the actual gauge is not holding all the pressure. I can hear and feel the air coming out through here, so it's seeping through there. Not sure why. I'm gonna have to probably throw this thing out or remove it and then put some Teflon. I don't know. I'd just rather get a new one. But anyways, it's good that I was recording. That way you guys saw that I'm actually getting the pressure that I'm telling you guys that I'm getting. That way you guys don't believe my words. You guys actually see it for yourselves. So the numbers, what do they mean? I got 210 all across the board. So obviously, like I said, I believe the stock compression readings for this motor is 160 to 175, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that. I'll post a screenshot of the numbers here. But let's just take the example that I was telling you, 160 to 175. I'm yielding 210. That's roughly 50 psi more. So what does that mean? That means that the motor is high compression. And that's true. I'll give you guys a breakdown of what the motor has in another video. I just wanted to tell you guys the numbers and show you guys how to do the compression. But I'm 210. Now, it's good that you're over. If you're over, that means that you probably have performance parts under the engine. You will not have a bad engine that's yielding high numbers, high compression readings than what you're supposed to get. The ideal healthy motor will have all the same compression readings across all the cylinders. Now, what if you have one of the cylinders that's reading a lower number than the rest of the cylinders? That basically means that cylinder, that's where your problem is. What is a problem? The compression test does not tell you that. It just tells you that you have a problem. It doesn't tell you where the problem is. So like I said, the compression test will only tell you that you have a problem. It won't tell you where you have that problem. For that, you need to switch to a leak down test. A leak down test, instead of receiving air like the compression tester does, a leak down test forces air into the combustion chamber. And if you have a leak, it'll tell you where it's going. There's 4 places that you might have a leak. Number 1, it's going to be through the oil cap. If you have air when you're doing the leak down test and air comes out through the oil cap, that basically means that either your rings are fried or your walls on the cylinder wall score, so air is seeping through there. The second place that you might have air escaping through is through your actual radiator cap. That basically means that you have a head gasket problem, so the head and the block are not sealing good. Third, you can have air seeping out through your exhaust. You'll probably see it through the exhaust pipe in the back. That basically means that one of your exhaust valves is not seated correctly, or it's cracked, or it's broken, something within the exhaust valve is not sitting properly. And then alternatively, you might have air escaping through your intake. That might be through the actual throttle body. So if you would open this during the leak down test and you hear a little whistle shh through there or through any part of the intake system, that means the opposite. That means that instead of your exhaust valve not sitting right and it's leaking, it's going to be your intake valve that is leaking and not sitting properly. It might be cracked, it might be chipped, it's not sitting right. Something along those lines might be wrong with the valves. So, but that's for a leak down test. Compression test just tells you, hey, look, this is how much pressure you have, and that's it. It doesn't tell you what's it called, where it's going. Well, it shouldn't be going anywhere. It's just sitting in your combustion chamber. And if you don't have the reading that you're supposed to get, then it's going to be escaping somewhere. And where is that somewhere? That the leak down test will tell you. So basically, I hope that was a good, simple rundown for you guys. Hopefully it was informative and helpful. Like I said, a compression test will tell you just how much pressure do you have and if it's a healthy motor. And then leak down test, if you have bad readings and it's not giving you the results that you want, the leak down test will tell you where it's heading from. That's another thing too. For the compression test, there is tolerance for how much of a difference you can have between each cylinder for the compression reading. So let's just say your yield is 150 psi for cylinder number 2, and let's say cylinder number 3 you're getting 135. So that right there is a 10% difference. So that means that there can only be a maximum of 15 psi between each cylinder. So if you have a cylinder that has 120 psi, that's already too little. And let's just say for this motor, right, which is supposed to get 160 to 175, I believe, let's just say that I get 150 across all cylinders. Obviously, number 1, that's not a good reading because it's not between that 160 to 175 range. But the good thing is that if I'm getting 150 in every cylinder, that means that the engine is wearing out evenly. So I'm not getting one single problem in this cylinder and I'm not getting another problem in this one. So possibly if you had, let's say, it's better to have 150 across all 4 than to have, let's say, 170, 170, 150, and 170. That's inconsistent. So that means that in this cylinder, if this is the one that I'm getting lower reading, that means that that one I might have problems with the valves or with the rings or anything of that sort. So it's better to have the engine evenly worn than to have one cylinder that's just completely out of the question. I'm assuming that it's out of that 10% range, because if it's within that 10% range, then you're fine. But if it's out of that 10% range, then that's not too good of a look for the engine, and you might have to go in for a rebuild. It sounds like a handful, but I promise you it's not. Literally, the compression test just tells you the life and the health of your motor, and it's as simple as just plugging in the compression tester. Sound like a Dodge. Plugging in your God, it took me out of my train of thought. Taking out the spark plugs, plugging in your compression tester, cutting off your ignition real quick, and then putting the accelerator all the way down to the floor to activate the throttle body, you know, to mimic the same setup as if the car was running, and also I believe it floods the injectors, if I'm not mistaken. Other than that, guys, that's how you do a compression test on your motor. I do want to do it one more time. I know the motor's healthy, but I just got mad that the actual compression gauge was acting up. So I don't know, but almost didn't film that for number one, not being able to thread into cylinder number one after bending it like 30 times, and then number two, after the freaking gauge not freaking sealing and holding the pressure. But anyways, we got it done. Let's see if it starts. Alrighty guys, that's pretty much it for the video. I wish it went smoother, but you know, it is what it is. You know, stuff happens, so it's all good. But anyways guys, take care, have a great weekend, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Alrighty guys, take care, peace out.